Good morning, everyone. So we will learn about the studies or research on of medication adherence. Let's pray first. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. May the Holy Trinity God live and reign in our hearts and in the hearts of all people. Amen. May the darkness of sin and the night of unbelief vanish before the light of the word and the spirit of grace. May the heart of Jesus live in the hearts of all people. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, the studies on medication adherence provide some beneficial impacts that usually in countries with universal coverage system, non-adherence may cause uh, excess of annual spending. And then it is estimated that in the US, the hospitalizations due to inadherence or non-adherence is about 11% per year. So if this can be minimized, then it will benefit the universal health coverage system. And studies may make this issue becoming more appreciated and help solve the problems. But I want to also say here that studies on medication adherence is not that exclusive or not studies on medication adherence are not exclusively owned by pharmacy. So nurse and then doctors can do that as well. So in the field of medication adherence, the topic of medication adherence, you can have a lot of, uh, health professionals researching this topic. So it is a good sign that we can have, there is a potential for collaboration with researchers from other disciplines. Defining adherence, however, is not easy. So in the past, we used the term compliance, but now we adopt the use of adherence. So the compliance implies that there is the conformation between the patient dosing history and the prescribed regimen. So they have to comply with the prescribed regimen. For example, if the patients, so this is just a technical, confirmation between what the patients take and what uh, what was instructed. But now they use the term adherence to convey the patient and provider relationship. So this is more like there is a patient involvement, and it's not just like the order, the top-down order, but there is, the, it would be egalitarian or, yeah. So the the main the main the main message is that we try to uh, approach the patients to be aware, to understand what their needs relating to the dosing regimen and so on. So the patient is taking part of the therapy. And adherence is not a single static behavior, but a set of behaviors over time. And because of this, uh, any fail on these steps may relate to the non-adherence. So there are experts have identified three phases of the behavior. The first is the initiation, the implementation, and persistence. So the phase one is on when after the clinician writes the prescription and also patients fills prescription. This is the phase of initiations. So it is okay that uh, patients may receive the uh, prescription, but probably there is a possibility that the patients may not fill the prescription. So even in this first phase of the self-medication for medication adherence behavior, there is no there can be a kind of uh, barriers to make the patients become non-adherent. The second phase is the implementation. Patient got the field, got the drugs, the medications, and then taking the drugs. And then the third is the persistent. This is very relevant to chronic conditions where patients need to regularly take the drug. For example, hypertension, diabetes mellitus, and so on. So they have to be persistent on taking the drug because taking drug every day, usually people may have kind of perceptions that they will become addicted or dependent dependent to the medications. It is true that they will dependent to the medications, but sometimes, especially what I know in the field in Indonesia, people may think that there is some kind of level of uh, you know like the effect of psychotropics or narcotics that they really you know how to say it in English, yeah, just like dependent, very very dependent to the drugs. So yes, so that's I think misperception. And non-adherence can happen in each phase of this medication adherence behavioral phase. There is I think we all agree to this, that drugs don't work in patients who don't take them. I agree with this. And actually, I don't know, even before I know these quotes, I already, as a pharmacist, I already understand the, you know, the importance of taking the drug. That's why there are many aspects that will lead the patients to become adherent to the medications. Even the information that we give when we provide the service, when we uh, give the drugs to the patients, that will influence as well the adherence to the medication. Adherence monitoring is very important in RCT. So in RCT, sometimes if the drug that the main drug that is studied uh, failed to show good efficacy and safety, then the information on the adherence profile of the patients may explain the cause. And then, however, in the real world, more factors may affect adherence. So in the RCT, the participants usually are insured, paid with a high sum of money. But in the real world, that may be different, especially in the system where the patient's medications costs can be covered by insurance like the universal health coverage system. They may they may not take the drug just because they have a certain perception towards the efficacy of the drugs or the effectiveness of the drugs. For example, in Indonesia, a lot of people assume that the universal health coverage system only provides menial service, only low quality service. That a lot of people think about that. However, uh, just because of the use of generic medications, while usually the hospital uh, they really select the generic medications that enter their hospital. So it's not always that the perception of the general people of the public is usually the generic medications is uh, uh, has a lower quality than the branded medication, while it is not really it is most probably not true, but it's not easy to you know dispel that perception. And therefore, as a major determinant of treatment outcome, adherence can be a focus of pharmacoepidemiology. And there are a lot of methods that can be used to study medication adherence. We will discuss it later. Uh, when we have to look at the non-adherence can be intentional and unintentional. Some barriers are identified with different level of barriers. From the patient barriers, it can be forgetfulness. It is common, especially those who reach a certain age age group. And then lack of knowledge and health literacy, and then depression and lack of social support. So it is, yeah, I think we can understand easily of this one. However, uh, the lack of knowledge and also health literacy may not that, you know, sometimes even uh, people who are knowledgeable and have a good health literacy may have forgetfulness. So doesn't mean that uh, people with knowledge and also have a good health literacy may not suffer from forgetfulness and the other things at the patient level barriers. At the system level barriers, there will be accessibility and affordability. Accessibility means that the, the relative distance to the medication providers, such as pharmacy or clinics and so on. In, and then the second one is the affordability, and then it is about the price and so on. Sometimes it is the drug is accessible, meaning that it is close to the house of patients, but it is probably not affordable. The cost is really high. And sometimes it is affordable, but there is no way it is not easy to see, to find drugs. Even sometimes there are some items of drugs that are not, provided by all community pharmacies. So only a few of community pharmacies will provide supply of it. And then the medication specific barriers can be regimen complexity because, like, for example, if you still remember about the medications for osteoporosis, for example, the formulation is designed to be, for example, some drugs for osteoporosis can be used only once a month or probably only once a week. It may increase the risk of forgetfulness because you know taking the drug regularly every day may create a kind of a pattern. But if it is said to be once a week, then yeah, I think it will increase the risk of forgetfulness. So regimen complexity, adverse effects, and then pill fatigue. Pill fatigue because the patients receive a lot of drugs and they have to know which one is taken in the morning and how many of uh, drugs, and then in the afternoon and in the evening or night. So yeah, it may cause the pill fatigue. And then there is a something that may not be classified as non-adherence, but it can be non-adherence as well when the patients take the extra doses, because sometimes when patients do not feel uh, that the regimen that they receive may not give a good uh, effectiveness, then it's not effective, then they will increase the dose by themselves, like taking paracetamol, 2 tablets, and so on. So yeah, it can be said as non-adherence as well because it's outside the prescribed regimen. But it is also quite, because sometimes the regimen that are given by the prescribers may not really, you know, mm, sometimes there is a risk of the incorrectness of the regimen prescribed. So, yeah. So, extra doses sometimes also can be said as adherence as well, because the patients want to have the outcome, a good outcome. Yeah, something like that. So, extra doses can be, in between non-adherence or adherence. And then the benefits from studying medication adherence is that they can have they can provide a general description of the threshold of how much medication must be taken to obtain desired clinical outcomes. For example, in hypertensive among patients with hypertension, the 80% of adherence is said to be sufficient to control the blood pressure. But in HIV patients, 80 to 95% of the adherence may improve the outcome. And then the public health impact, especially in infectious diseases like TB and HIV, is related to the antimicrobial resistance. The studies on adherence may provide red flags to the patients who are taking antimicrobials but not adhere to it. So it will for the adherence may certainly reduce the risk of the speed of the antimicrobial resistance. And then there are some techniques that can be used There are six methods that can be used to study the medication adherence. The first one is the self-report, and then the second one is pharmacy dispensing data, and then pill counts, medication diaries, electronic drug monitoring technology, and drug concentrations. Uh, this can be said that the self-reports are the most the easiest method, and then the drug concentrations are the most complicated method and probably not. It's quite expensive. Self-report is said as the most common method, and because it is simple, affordable, quick, and visible. However, uh, there are a lot of instruments available, but they vary greatly in question phrasing, recall periods, and response items. The self-reports can be done by telephone interview, face-to-face meeting, and then paper as well as electronic survey. I think the electronic surveys like the use of Google Forms or any other um, questionnaire, like in SurveyMonkey, you can use that, or M Water. I found, a, a free or accessible questionnaire. It is called M Water. M Water. So we can use that one, and the use of it really increases, has increases during since the pandemic. And then the examples, the adult AIDS clinical trial group, adherence questionnaire, brief medication questionnaire, Hilburn adherence scale, and so on. They have, so uh, each of these, instrument may have their own, uh, intellectual, uh, intellectual property, uh, sorry, intellectual right. I mean, we have to, before using these instruments, we need to get the permission from the, uh, we get to get permission from the authors of this, or the creator of this instrument that hold the intellectual property right. And then the second is the pharmacy dispensing data. It, it is started in the late 90s for chronic diseases, and it is commonly from the health insurance secondary data. And this can be said as quite accurate because of the reimbursement. So, because the patient need, they spend money on the prescription and they ask reimbursement to the insurance providers, then it is, I agree that it is said to be accurate. And then it is less risk of bias by poor recall compared to the self-report method, because it can be assessed retrospectively from digital report. And then data can be easily retrieved using software and are available on large number of patients. And so this is the benefit of using the digital data sources, because we can access a lot of patients, and sometimes we can trace to retrospectively, you know, uh, so a lot of years before. I mean, we can trace for years. I mean, for 5 years, 10 years uh, before. However, this method has uh, some drawbacks. For non-insured medications, tracking is not that accurate. So, and then, yes, the US only accurate for outpatients, and then data may not be useful for one-time prescription or short-course treatment because depending on the price, depending on the cost of the medications, even patients with health insurance may not reimburse their medications because the cost is low, for example. But I'm not sure that it happened in the US because in the US the health system is very expensive. And then the process is using a drug supply diary, using the dispensing date and days supply. So this is not, the diary is not created by the patients or asked to the patients, but by using by by retrieving the data from the that database, then we can create the patient's drug supply diary. So from each patient. And then the third method is pill counts. It is said as commonly used, but it is used in Indonesia, especially for the TB cases. TB patients to increase the adherence to the therapy. TB patients are expected uh, to to revisit the health, the like barangay public health center or barangay public um, yeah public health center, something like that. So like in Indonesia we have puskesmas or the primary care system. So they need to come every once in 2 weeks. So and they need to bring their which is the what is the what is the blister the blister or the strip of the medications that they have given to them. So from that, the nurse will assess whether the patient is adherent to the medications or not. However, sometimes because they know what uh, the purpose of bringing the empty carton or empty blisters of the drugs, probably on the way to the public health centers, they dump the pills. So, yeah, some patients can be tricky for them. And then the fourth method is the medication diaries. This is effective to understand the missing doses, and then missing dose notes may be useful at classifying adherence and finding the solution. And then the code contains date and time of each dose with or without food. Handwritten can be handwritten on all electronic. And then useful for medications such as insulin, inhalers, due to difficulties of tracking with other methods. But this is prone to over-reporting and under-reporting. So the over-reporting, because the, you know, it can be over-reporting and under-reporting because the, all of us have different behaviors in terms of writing. Um, some people may be very diligent to write everything. Some people may be moody while uh, like for today, they can write a lot, but yesterday they did not have kind of, yeah, the spirit to write or something like that. So it can be different from day to day. So that's why it can cause the over-reporting and under-reporting. And then the fifth method is the electronic drug monitoring technology, or EDM. This one is very good. It is, uh, I think this is the best one, but it is not. It's quite expensive to have this one. So yes, it has the similar advantages as medication diaries, but better in terms of potential deception, forgetfulness, and ignorance because there is timestamp data to enhance precision. We will look of some of the methods like this one. Why this method can enhance the precision. So, like for example, when they use the technology with this general mechanism, when patients open the container, then while opening it, it will puncture a blister or ingesting a dose that will trigger electronic date on timestamp technology. So every anything that happened to the medications will be uh, will they will send the data, kind of data to the server. So let us say let us see the example. So this one, like for the picture A, so A is 99 dots. Yeah, this is a feature font-based adherence. So uh, like uh, when the patients puncture the you know the blister or open the medication here, then they can call and say that, oh, I opened already the blister. Then the B is sure adherence. So the patients need to call someone while uh, they are taking the drugs. So while taking the medication, they need to be witnessed by someone. And then the C, every method digital bill box. So I think this is the medication storage area. There are some medications here, and there is a reminder and reminder lights. And when they open, when the patients open the box, then they can send something to the server or something like that. And then this is quite complicated. So this is using an ingestible sensor based on, yeah, adherence monitoring approach. So the drug contains a sensor, and then when the patient's taking it, there is something on the, like, a bandage, a patch or something like that that put on the patient's stomach, then this will detect the drug inside. and then it will send signal data to the smartphone. The smartphone will transfer the data to the server. Something like that. And then the healthcare providers may monitor this thing. You know, it's quite uh, expensive, but it's good. And then the last one, the last method is using the drug concentrations. This is the identification of drug in plasma or other tissue. And this can be a direct evidence of drug administrations. Uh, yeah, so, but as you can, you know, as you can imagine that this will be, um, this is the most accurate way, but this is also the most expensive way and probably not really convenient for some patients because they need uh, they need to be uh, their blood need to be taken. So this is not if efficient, effective for you know the for day-to-day practice. However, this can be beneficial for ICTs. I think this is my last slide. Yes. Is there any questions about the assignments? Probably. I will upload the videos because there are some videos that I have uploaded. Sorry about that. But I promise at least tomorrow I will upload the videos because you need to prepare your final exam. Is there any questions? I will stop the recording.